Now that we've gotten some of the basics out of the way as far as Ohm's law and power, we're going to start doing some simulations this week. And yes, that is one of my cats in their picture. That is Quincy. So I want to go ahead and get started with how you can launch this application that we're going to use via an internet browser. Now, doing this via an internet browser works, but it is a slower process than if you use one of the computers in the lab. But it's great if you are just at home or in one of the residence halls. You can launch it just this way. So I'm just going to open a Chrome browser, and I'm going to go directly to the website letmein.indianatech.edu. And you can see I go there all the time because it had an autocomplete for me. Now, you're probably going to have to log in, especially if you're doing this off campus, to get to this site, because I'm already logged in. But that's because this is a campus computer and I'm already logged into the network, so it automatically logs me into this. But if you are using this from your residence hall or from a home, you will have to probably log in. But that's basic. Then you're going to go to one-click apps here. You're going to scroll down to these virtual labs. So I'm going to go ahead and click on virtual labs. And then it's going to launch this thing called a Porto. And Porto is a third-party vendor that basically we are able to use their servers or computers to run software on it. So I clicked on the App Store here in the left, and then I'm clicking on the engineering desktop. And so it's going to log me into the engineering desktop. And this takes a second to do. And obviously, depending on your internet speed, this could be quicker or slower. But there is also some time on the server side of their things that we have to wait for their servers to get a session up and running for us. All right, so we've got it up and running. Now, you'll notice here I have a little taskbar here, and with the way I'm recording my video, you don't see my actual taskbar for my computer, but they're located right above each other. So the one thing you want to be careful is making sure that you use the right taskbar for the right program. It's easy to get, confused here and open up maybe your folders on your local computer as opposed to the ones here. Now, I'll just open the folder for the ones here just real quickly. You can see there's some stuff there on the desktop, but what I really want to show you is you go to this PC, there is this little network drive here called My Documents. And this does persist in the sense that if you were to do some work here and store it in this location, it will be there next time you log into a Porto. And you can see I've already done that. I've got stuff in here for a cadence already, and I could show you something of this nature, but that's not how, of course, we would typically start cadence. So the circuit simulator we use is called Cadence, but it's really OrCAD or Allegro. And you might say, why are all these different names? It's because companies got bought out by other companies. So the company that owns everything is called Cadence. The software package that we're going to use is called OrCAD. And so you can see I just double clicked on this program called OrCAD and Allegro. Now there's two folders here, two options, OrCAD Lite and OrCAD Products. We want to do OrCAD Products. And then there's several options in here. The main one we're always going to use is this Capture CIS. Now, I'm not launching it just yet because I want to first emphasize that you have to be patient with this. And this has to do with just the server, a Porto server, then has to communicate with the Cadence server to get a license, and it takes time, a lot longer than it should, in my opinion. So I've double clicked on it, so it's definitely clearly launching. But what's going to happen here is now that little busy signal on my mouse has gone away, so it looks like nothing's happening. There is still stuff happening. And this is where I'm going to purposely just let the video run, and it's going to be somewhat annoying because it takes some time. I'm actually going to go ahead and minimize this window here just so that when it does happen, because sometimes what will happen is the next step will kind of hide behind that window there of that folder that I open. But now, again, I'm being patient. I don't like being patient, especially because of my computer that I have at home. When I try and launch it, because I have a license for my computer at home, it literally takes half a second or less to actually launch the software program for me. Oh, there we go. So I was patient. So what you're waiting for is you're waiting for this box to jump up here, and there is this little program icon that kind of came up in the bottom. Now, it's always going to just be the top one, OrCAD PCB Designer Professional with PSpice. You don't have to worry about any of the other options, so it's just the top one. Now, this next one doesn't take as long to launch then. And you can see, okay, it's launching it, and now it's loading information in, and it's, I'm going to go ahead and increase the size, and now we're ready, because once these new design, new project shows up, we are ready to actually simulate something. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and open a project that's existing, because this video isn't really to show you how to do the simulations. It's just showing you how to access the web version of it and how you have to be patient. So I'm going to open a project, and I'm going to go to my documents here, and I'm just going to go to this. I don't even know what this circuit is. It says convert the project. Yeah, that just means it may have been on a different system, like different version. Okay, close. All right, so it's open. And it gives you this 10 reasons to upgrade to OrCAD 17.4. We are scheduled to do that at some point. All right, so this is the circuit that I have here, and I'll zoom in on it a little bit. You don't need to know anything that's going on with the circuit. None of it's important at this point. I'm just going to go real quickly and just create something here so I have a simulation profile. You can kind of ignore what I'm doing there, but in fact, what actually is good I clicked here and then just clicked OK. If you notice at the bottom here, it says communicating with server. This is where you have to be patient again. So when we start learning how to do these simulations, you'll see here why you have to be patient. And the first one I will do with the web interface one in the next video, but subsequently I'm going to be doing the ones that are located on the computer because it's much faster. So I'm still being patient, which is annoying to be patient for things like this. But even though we have to be patient, the point of this is that you can literally do this anywhere. So yeah, we have to be patient, but maybe you do this and then you go get a cup of coffee make a cup of coffee. So it still says connecting with server. And it's like you don't want to believe that it is. Okay, now I know it's ready because there's this little box here that's jumped up. Now, I'm not going to go through any details at that point. I'm just going to click OK. So I'm ready to start a simulation at this point, and I'm just going to click the Run button. And again, the only reason I'm doing this is to show you how you have to be patient online. So I'm going to click the Run button. Okay, a little thing popped up there and then quickly disappeared saying, okay, I'm going to run your simulation for you. And okay, now it's doing that communicating with server again. So yet again, we have to be patient. And we continue to be patient, which is really annoying. But even though, again, we have to be patient, it does eventually come up. And here we go. We're done. It's come up here. Now, if I click on this, this will give me an indication on how much here. Let me minimize that again, because the important information is now hidden by my face. So this area right here is showing that the simulation is running. And so we're still having to be patient for the simulation to run. I mean, if the simulation eventually, sometimes it won't ever complete. Now it's completed. I can see I've got this green bar, 100% complete. And we'll talk about more about what this area shows us when we start getting into simulations. But the simulation is complete, and I'll just show you real quickly. There's these different little things here where voltage, and we talked about this where, hey, it measures voltages at points. And we've got 50 volts at this point, which we shouldn't be surprised because I have a 50-volt battery here. And again, this symbol was what we used for ground, and that's at 0 volts. And so, we could go into more detail about that, but I can also turn on the next one, current, and it talks about what the current is flowing. And again, notice how it's put right on the edge of this component here, because again, you have to talk about current flowing through a component. And then you can even turn W on, which is then talking about the amount of power. Now, I will point one thing out here. Notice how this says -2 watts, and these are positive numbers. -2 is meaning that power is being taken away from something. So negative means power is taking away from something, which makes sense. The battery is powering the circuit. Now there's this other negative here, which is dealing with something called a dependent power supply, which I don't want to get into the conversation here about that. But if you look at all of the resistors, how we said resistors can only absorb power, we can see that the power for each one of the resistors is positive blue. Okay, so we'll wrap us up here on this video. As a side note, once you get this simulation done, you never want to hit the X on this until you're done for the day or done with your work. Because if you hit the X on this, you have to go and be patient again. And what do I mean here? Let me just show you real quickly. I'm going to change this to 600. So by changing it to 600, none of the numbers have changed because I need to resimulate it. But if I hit the play button now, you see how quickly that simulation is done now, and some of these numbers have changed. But see how quick that simulation took? Now, if I go here and close out of that window, and I change this to, let's say, 1000, or I could have said 1K, and then I run the simulation again, wait, what's going on here? I'm having to, oh, there's that connecting to server, and notice that window's not popped up again. I'm having to be patient. Now, I'm not going to drag it out that we have to wait to that. I'm going to end the video here, but that just shows you why you really don't want to ever close that window until you're done with whatever assignment you're working on.